Turbo and 2K show.
What is up, 2K crew? Hold on. There we go. What's up, 2K crew? It is that time of the week again. It is podcast day. And man, do we have... What a wild weekend of football. I mean, this shit is just crazy. It is just crazy off the hook. Teams that are supposed to win didn't. Teams that shouldn't have won or aren't playing for anything showed up. It's like, what in the hell is going on? What in the actual hell is going on? But that's what we're going to jump into today on the Turbo and 2K show. And as you might know, I am flying solo yet again. Where's 2Ks? Did we get in a fight? Are we done? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. 2Ks, it's actually good, but he better show up with some sort of photos in hand or an audio clip or something, because we had boots on the ground in Detroit, quite possibly with some access to some extras. Let's put it that way. Maybe. But let's not get too excited. But 2Ks, Mrs. 2Ks, and a group of folks were over at the Lions game today. If you're a Lions fan, you have got to be stoked. And we'll definitely get into that, as well as I did not go ahead and make fancy borders here today, but we'll adapt, improvise, and overcome, because that's what we do. But enough of that jibber jabber. If you guys are, and I see there is a handful of folks watching live on YouTube. If you guys go ahead, if you haven't already, don't forget to sub. Like the video, comment on it, share it, do all that cool stuff. Be a friend, tell a friend. And for those of you on the podcast side, if you're listening to this on Tuesday morning, go ahead and give us a follow, give us a like. And for those of you on the YouTube side, if you do drop a comment, I'll feature you on the show like this, and we can get a conversation started. And yeah, like I said last week, it is a little easier. The show flows a little better when I get some input from you guys. And the 2K crew, you guys are the best. And if you don't know what the 2K crew is, it's a Facebook group where all of our fans and friends hang out, talk sports, shoot the shit, and make fun of each other, because that's pretty much what a group of sports nuts do. But facebook.com/group/2K crew gets you in there. And if you guys are looking to be a little bit more feisty, go over to buyturbobeer.com. Buy 2Ks and I a beer, and you will financially support the show, as well as you'll be, once you do that, I write a blog every week, and you'll get it emailed to you to kind of keep you up to date with what my thoughts are. And if you guys really want to get saucy, if you do the monthly membership, there's a whole bunch of perks, which I do need to redo, because they really aren't that cool anymore. So those will be it is in the works. So enough of that. Let's jump into what we got going today. Man, like I said, you talk about some weird games, but when you think about it, some teams weren't playing for anything. Some teams just needed to win. So if you were on the fantasy side, which I probably should, look. Please hold. There we go. We really haven't talked about it a lot this year, except for me bitching about how bad my fantasy team is. But let's jump in here and kind of give the playoffs a little love here. And it looks like the final four were Mr. Jeremy Warren, Matt, Chelsea Kaler, Mrs. 2Ks herself, and reigning Turbo and 2K's fantasy football champion, Mr. Jack Eggleston. And as it sits right now, Jack and Chelsea are battling it out in the for the winners bracket. So let's take a look at their score, see what's going on, and maybe we can announce a winner right here. So hold on, we gotta watch a stupid video, because why not? But for those of you watching or on the show here, how did you do in your fantasy league? Did you happen to win? And who was your stud player? Who was your dude? Who was your stud player? I know I've kind of talked at great lengths about the unfortunate luck that my team had. So it looks like Jack has 345, and keep in mind, folks, that is a 2-week total. And Chelsea has 376. Chelsea has Justin Herbert and Las Vegas' kicker yet to go, and looks like Jack just has Mike Williams. So definitely not a slam dunk, but because if Herbert does go to Mike Williams a lot, so I mean we still cannot pronounce officially a champion yet, but we will next week for sure. But yeah, I did want to take a quick second here and say thank you to all the fantasy football crew, and I also wanted to thank all the folks that got into the weekly DraftKings that we do. So kind of makes the whole experience more fun. Excuse me. Well, let's now that we did that, and just got the news that looks like Bob Saget has passed away, if I'm not mistaken. So let's give a moment of silence to Bob. All right. Yeah, you will be missed. You are probably, your stand-up was probably some of the best, just because we grew up with you as a TV dad, and to hear some of the stuff that comes out of your mouth was absolutely amazing. I loved it. So big shout out to you. You will be missed, and T's and P's to his family and friends. So with that being said, let's jump into week 18 here. Let's jump into week 18 and kind of go over some scores here. Won't talk a whole much about the Bears and Vikings, so that game didn't mean anything. There was really no implications there. The Bills, big win over the Jets, 27-10. With that win, the Bills do clinch the AFC East, so that was huge. Let's check the box score here. Zach Wilson had 87 yards passing. Wow. Looks like Mitchie Two Bags here did get some play here. One pass for 15 yards. Josh Allen went 24 of 45, 239, 2 touchdowns. I haven't really dug into these quite yet, but the big number here, Devin Singletary, 88 yards rushing, Josh Allen, 63 yards. So you're not really seeing the 300 and 400 yard mark here from Josh Allen, which I think is a great thing, because they do need more balance. They do need that running game just to compete. So good all around game. Big win for them, as well as a big confidence boost, I'm sure. But yeah, man, my throat is killing me right now. All right, sorry about that, folks. But let's jump over the Bengals Browns. Not a big shocker here. The Bengals really didn't play anybody. Joe Burrow was not playing. I'm pretty sure if we jump in here, there's not going to be a whole lot of. Nick Chubb did get some run, 9 carries for 58 yards. Jarvis Landry got some. Oh, we're talking about the wrong team here. Yeah. And we didn't see. Jamar Chase did get a little bit of run here, 2 catches for 28 yards. So not a big shocker here. Cincinnati, their position really wasn't going to be affected by anything today. The big shocker, I think, came to it is a big shock and it isn't. It is a big shock and it isn't. And before we jump into that, I did forget something here. Let's do this. Let's start the segment, Turbo's Tweets of the Week, I guess. But big shout out to Mike Greenberg at ESPN Greeny. It says, watch the Lions play for their coach and watch how he is coaching the game. They got the right guy in Detroit. And Greeny, I couldn't agree with you more. I could not agree with you more. And I tell you what, some of the play calling in that game was ballsy, was awesome. And for a team that ended the season 3-13-1, yes, it was a disappointing season. However, if you're a Lions fan and you kind of expected this team to get a whole lot of run, a whole lot of play, just because the inexperience of so many players, both on the offensive side, defensive side. But what you saw throughout the season was, yes, they stunk, but they kept getting better and better and better and better. And with a team like that, you could definitely see some folks just laying down because, hey, we're not playing for anything. I'm still getting a paycheck. I'm going to give them the most minimal effort I can. But MCDC, Coach Dan Campbell, has those boys balling, out for sure. And one more tweet here. Here it is. And John Boy Media, at John Boy Media, parents wearing the split jersey is always awesome. And this is on the left here, Equanimous St. Brown. On the right is Amon-Ra St. Brown. They are brothers. Equanimous came out of Notre Dame, and Amon-Ra came out of USC. So a very proud papa in the middle with the Green Bay jersey in the middle and the sleeves being the Lions jersey. So definitely cool. Definitely cool. Big shout out to you, John Boy. I follow your stuff very, very religiously. So big shout out to you. Big shout out to you. But yeah, it was a cool game all around. And I'm sure, because like I said, 2K's had boots on the ground. He was there. But let's jump into the box score here. We had Rodgers played the first half, went 14-18, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, looked fucking crisp. There is definitely not any lack of momentum here with this Packers team, even though they did lose. However, a lot of their players didn't play the second half. And they did keep some of the starters out, period, just because they didn't want to get them all banged up. But Jay Love saw the second half, and I think he took the kneel down going into halftime. So he went 10 for 17, 134 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. That is the only question mark I have going forward with this Packers team. And Jordan, I mean, let's be honest. Jordan Love is not going to factor into how far this team goes this season. Not at all. As long as A-Rod's there and he's the one pulling the trigger and he is healthy, Mr. Love will not see the field. But I'm curious to see how the Packers brass take and look at this, just because the 2 times we've seen Jordan Love on the field in a game, he didn't look good. He didn't look good at all. Now, I completely understand you're definitely not going to take that step on the field and just dominate right out the gate. Unless you're in extreme case like excuse me, like Patrick Mahomes. But even then, he sat behind Alex Smith. Obviously, the Aaron Rodgers sat behind Favre. So would Rodgers be where he is at now, only sitting behind Favre for a year? Who knows? That's something we will never know. That's something we'll never know. But when it comes down to this, I think that is the main, the main point going forward, is because Rodgers' contract up at the end of the year, does he re-sign with Green Bay? Obviously, that's going to have a big say if Devontae Adams stays. Do the Packers have enough money to keep them both? Who knows? But A.J. Dillon saw the vast majority of the carries, 14 carries, 63 yards. Patrick Taylor, big shout out to you, got your first career touchdown. Allen Lazard had a day. He had the first 2 touchdowns of the day from Favre. 5 catches, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jared Goff played a very, very good game. 21 of 30, 238 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jamal Williams, 13 carries, 43 yards. DeAndre Swift had 7 carries for 30 yards. And probably the standout of the day is the aforementioned Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8 catches, 109 yards, and a touchdown. And for a dude that they got in the, I believe he was a 4th round pick last year, complete steal of the draft. This kid fits in extremely well. I think the brass over there in Detroit did actually get this one right and hit a home run. So I think good things are coming to those that wait over there in Detroit. So yeah, but I have a very good feeling that like it's been for the past decade, the vast majority of the time that the playoffs go through Green Bay in the AFC North. So how long before the Lions can overtake the Packers? Only time will tell, because it's going to be probably not until Aaron Rodgers leaves. I mean, plain and simple. Plain and simple. Let's jump back over to here. The football team beats the Giants. Who gives a shit? The biggest surprise of the day. And like I said here, the big question I had was, for all of you sports bettors, how many of you lost your parlay because the Colts stunk today? I know I did. Carson Wentz goes 17-29, 185 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. To be outdueled by Trevor Lawrence, 23-32, 223 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor is held under 100 yards, which also killed some of my parlays. JT goes 15 carries for 77 yards. And Michael Pittman Jr., 6 catches, 64 yards and a touchdown. So this, I mean, the ball was definitely in Indy's hands. It was in their court. They win, they're in. I mean, hands down, they win, they're in. And this was going into this was a 9-7 Colts team against a 2-12 Jags team. Now, I have heard a stat that the Colts absolutely play like shit when they play down in Jacksonville. What does that have to do with anything? I have no idea. But this was a control your own destiny type situation, and they definitely dropped the ball on this. They dropped the ball hard on this. I mean, this is a Jacksonville team that is in complete disarray, is in just a complete disaster. And it's just ridiculous to think that this Colts team with so much on the line just laid a complete egg. And the one thing that jumps off the page here at me is, and the reason why is, Jonathan Taylor only gets 15 carries. Reason being is they were behind by so much that they couldn't lean on that running game and do shit the way they wanted to. So it's not a surprise that you see JT with such few carries. However, when he is your guy on offense, you need to get him the ball any way that you can. Any way that you can. So, and we've seen this play out before. When they were going against Tom Brady and the Bucks, Jonathan Taylor was nowhere to be found because that coaching staff thought they could just shred the Tampa Bay defense, and they lost. So you would think by now that coaching staff would be like, all right, well, our wins seem to happen when we give this guy the ball a lot. But when we don't, our record's far worse. I mean, they have a stat for everything. You would think that they would be on top of this, I mean, wholeheartedly. But we'll see what happens with the Colts going on from here. Obviously, I'm pretty sure they have Wentz locked up for another couple years. They invested a lot of draft capital to get him over there to replace Phillip Rivers. So is it one of those things that did they overpay for Carson? Is Carson the guy? This is the type of things that they're going to have to address in the offseason, because I want to say the Colts had 7 or 8 Pro Bowlers on the team. They don't even make the playoffs. That doesn't make any sense to me. Doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Well, let's jump over here to the Steelers and the Ravens. Steelers come away with a big win here, and as we'll see later on when we get into the playoff picture, they pretty much did what they had to do. Roethlisberger goes 30 of 44, 244 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Chase Claypool, of all people, leads the team in rushing, 3 carries for 33 yards, which, if your leading rusher only has 33 yards on the day, it was kind of a bad day for everyone running the ball. Najee Harris, 11 carries for 28 yards. Pat Fryermuth leads the team with catches, 6 for 53, and Claypool has the only touchdown here. So big ups to Pittsburgh Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger. If this is his last go around, his last hoorah, hopefully we get to see him in the playoffs. It's definitely not a secret that 2Ks and I are both big fans of Mike Tomlin. So big shout out to him for this dumpster fire of a team. Still continuing that tradition of winning football. They ended up 9-7-1. So Mike Tomlin still does not. He's had a winning record every year he's coached in the NFL, which to me is just shocking as all hell. Shocking as all hell. But if you look at some of those teams that he's had in the past, there's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of talent there. So let's jump back over here and let's look at the Tennessee and Houston. Tennessee wins. They secure the number 1 seed in the AFC, which they did. However, Davis Mills and the Texans, boy, did not make it easy. Didn't make it easy at all. And if you look up here at the score by quarter, they were down 21-0 at half. 21-0 at half. And Tennessee wins 28-25. Tannehill has a huge day, 23 of 32, 287 and 4 touchdowns. Devontae Foreman goes 21 carries for 69 yards. And Nick Westbrook, I have no idea how to pronounce that, 4 catches for 78 yards and a touchdown. A.J. Brown shows up with 4 catches of his own and a touchdown. Julio Jones finds the end zone and gets a touchdown. And Davis Mills, the pride of Stanford University, rookie year, in my opinion, has had probably the most shocking start to his career, considering all the people that were drafted before him not having the greatest years at all. And this Houston team is still just in shambles. But dude put all that aside, went 23 of 33, 301 yards and 3 touchdowns and no picks. So I'm a big fan. I like him a lot. I like him a lot. When he first started, when this season first got going and Tyrod went out and all things pointed to the Davis Mills show, I'm like, all right, well, fuck, I even forgot who this guy was. So Googled him. I'm like, oh yeah. And me being a Notre Dame fan, we play Stanford every year, so definitely rang a bell once I got into that. So Houston's another team. Where do they go from here? The whole Deshaun Watson thing is still hanging over their head. Where do they obviously have to get rid of him in the offseason. Who wants him? Who's willing to pay the ransom to get him? So it's going to be very interesting going forward to see, kind of keep an eye on that team. So let's jump over here. Let's talk some Saints and Falcons. This one, I did not catch any part of this, so this is brand new to me. But I did see on Thursday Night Football, not Thursday, Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday. Today is Sunday. Duh. The thing on NBC here, whatever the hell it's called. Taysom Hill did go out with an injury. Before that he goes 7 for 9, 107 yards and a touchdown. Trevor Siemian came out firing, 9 of 15, 71 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's not a big shocker here that Kamara gets 30 carries, 146 yards, and he also had 2 catches coming out of the backfield for 16 yards. So big busy day for Mr. Kamara, which isn't shocking when you have, you're down to your third string quarterback in Trevor Siemian. You would honestly expect to see a player like Kamara be featured. Hint, Indianapolis, you have a guy just like this. Why don't you give him the ball 30 times? Just a thought. Atlanta, let's look at their stats. Matt Ryan goes 20 of 33, 216 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Going to be interesting to see where Mr. Ryan plays football next year, because there's the rumor mill is started up, and they're talking him possibly to Pittsburgh. There's a handful of places that folks are kind of projecting Matt Ryan to go. So it's going to be, the Falcons end up at 7-10. New Orleans, I believe, still has a puncher's chance here to get into the playoffs. So, going to be interesting. Like I said, where is Matty Ice going to? Where is he going to land? Where is he going to land? Is the going to be the storyline there in Atlanta? We already talked Jets Bills. Here we go. Let's go Niners Rams. This game just got over, and wow, what a game this was. What a game this was. This went back and forth, back and forth. I mean, obviously went to overtime where Matt Stafford and the Rams were were driving to either kick a tying field goal or score a touchdown to win the game. And he threw a pick. Going to OBJ. But Jimmy G, 2K's dude, his favorite guy, was 23 of 32, 316, a touchdown, and 2 picks. And I guarantee if 2K's was here, the 2 picks would be the thing that's jumping out at him. And on the other side of the ball, Stafford, again, he threw 2 picks as well, and a very costly one at the end of the game to seal it. He goes 21 of 32, 238 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Sony Michel, 21 carries, 43 yards. Elijah, and don't want to discount Debo's day. Debo throws a passing touchdown himself for 24 yards, as well as has 8 carries for 45 yards and 4 catches for 95 yards and a rushing touchdown. So he rushed for 1 and threw 1. So very busy day. Very busy day for Debo. And Cooper Kupp leads the way, 7 catches, 118 yards and a touchdown. I believe he needed a little over 135, 136 yards to break Calvin Johnson's record. So that record still stands. And Mr. Stafford now has the number 1 and number 2 receivers to throw to as far as yardage goes in a season. So cool for him. But which one of these Rams teams are going to show up in the playoffs? That's the big question going forward. Which Matthew Stafford are you going to get? Are you going to get the one that started the season on fucking fire, or are you going to get the one lately that just gives the ball to everybody? Let's jump to the next game here. New England at Miami. And Miami has always been a very hard place for New England to play, and it continues. Miami gets a big 33-24 win. This game really wasn't. I mean, if you look at the score by quarter here, Miami jumps out to a 14-0 lead in the first quarter, is leading 17-7 going into half. So Miami was in control of this game from the looks of it. From the get-go. Mac Jones goes 20 of 30, 261 in a touchdown and a pick. Tua, 15 of 22, 109 yards and a touchdown. The rumors swirling about what's going to happen in Miami. Are we still going to see Tua in Miami? Is that the possible destination for Deshaun Watson? It's going to be interesting to see. But, they're kind of pedestrian stats all the way around. Nothing really jumps off the page. Big shout out to Duke Johnson. 25 carries, 117 yards and a touchdown. Excuse me. Jalen Waddle keeps doing his thing. 5 catches, 27 yards and a touchdown. So, yeah, that's going to be the storyline going forward with the Dolphins. Are they going to continue to stink? Is Tua the guy? Are they going to remortgage the farm to get Deshaun Watson? And the storylines are just running rampant out of Miami. Seahawks Cardinals. This was another one that screwed up a lot of my parlays. I thought Arizona was just going to dog walk Seattle, but they lose 38-30. 38-30. Russell Wilson. Is this Russ's last game as a Seahawk? Only time will tell there. And if it is, where's he going? He goes 15 to 26, 238 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Rashad Penny is the story of the day here. 23 carries, 190 yards and a touchdown. Still kicking myself for not taking him in DraftKings today, but had him either last week or the week before. He had a very hot hand. Should have rode that hot hand, but figured maybe let's not press the issue. Let's not press the issue. But Tyler Lockett leads the way with 5 catches, 98 yards, and 2 touchdowns. DK 5 catches, 58 yards. And Kyler goes 28 to 39, 240, and a touchdown. James Conner, healthy this week again. 15 carries, 52 yards, and a touchdown. Seems like every game that dude plays in, he's scoring at least 1 touchdown. And he had a receiving touchdown. Big game for James Conner. Big game there. Let's jump over here. And for those of you, go ahead and subscribe. Subscribe. Ring that bell so you always get a notification when I go live or post videos. I mean, why the hell not? It's free. It's free. We'll talk about the last game of the day here, and then we'll jump into Saturday's game, and then we'll talk about some playoffs. Carolina at the Bucks. Really nothing a whole lot to talk about here. Brady has a fucking day. 29 to 37, 326, 3 touchdowns. Sam Darnold, 29 to 42, 219, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Gronk has a huge day. 7 catches, 137 yards. Mike Evans catches 2 touchdowns from Brady. Le'Veon Bell gets in the end zone. What? Le'Veon Bell gets in the end zone? So maybe definitely not the layover or any of the distractions that a lot of folks might have thought with the Antonio Brown situation going on down there. But yeah. Looks like TB12 has righted the ship and look very, very prepped and ready to go for the playoffs. So jump to Saturday's game. Cowboys at the Eagles. Cowboys just demoralized the Eagles 51 to 26. Big thank you to the Eagles for scoring a late garbage time touchdown in the second half to win me my parlay. So thank you. My same game parlay. But Dak has a huge day. 21 to 27, 295, 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns. Gardner Minshew, his mustache and mullet. Not so sure he was loving ball the way he normally does in this game, but he went 19 to 33, 186 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Zeke almost gets 100 yards, 18 carries, 87 yards. So we saw some very, very good things in this game. Very good things. And when it comes down to it, on paper, Dallas is a 10 times better team than Philadelphia. And you know what they say, they don't play the games on paper, but in this case, they really did, because that was a shit show. That was an absolute shit show. And let's go to the one last one here. And looks like we have Vegas is up 3-0 on the Chargers as we speak right now. About 6 minutes to go in the first quarter. But let's jump over to the last game here we'll talk about. It was the very first one on Saturday. Kansas City at Denver. Kansas City gets a big win here. They needed to win. And the Titans needed to lose for the Chiefs to have that number 1 seed. Kansas City took care of what they needed to do. They just had to wait on the Titans today. The Titans ended up getting the W they needed to secure the first round bye and the number 1 seed. But Pat Mahomes goes 27 to 44, 270 yards, 2 touchdowns. We saw Drew Lock 12 to 24, 162 yards. Mahomes led the rushing attack for Kansas City. Melvin Gordon had a day for Denver. 12 carries, 110 yards, and a touchdown. And Drew Lock himself had 2 rushing touchdowns. I want to say the first 2 touchdowns they scored. That's how they scored them. So, and as always, Travis Kelce in the red zone is always a threat. 4 catches, 34 yards, and a touchdown. So Kansas City went and did what they needed to do. They just need a little bit of help from the Titans, which they did not get. So, which I think is a perfect perfect way to kind of transition into this. Which one do I want to show? Let's do this one. It's a little prettier. It's a little prettier. Let's jump over to here. For those of you on YouTube, I am on CBSSports.com. It is the current playoff standings. The AFC, the number one seed is the Titans, like we already talked about. Now, when it comes to them, the big question is, Derrick Henry was cleared to practice. He actually could have played today. So with not only that and the bye, and you're getting one of the best offensive weapons in football back and rested. This is scary. If you're in the AFC, you know you've got to go through Tennessee and go through Tennessee with a rested and healthy Derrick Henry. Wow. That is just intense. That is intense. So that's going to be exciting to see him back and kind of see where he's at with his rehab and recovery. See if he is the Derrick Henry that we're used to seeing. 2 seed is the Chiefs. Excuse me. The Bills slide into that number 3 spot. And the Bengals, the number 4 spot. So after the Chiefs win on Saturday, the Bengals didn't have a lot to play for on Sunday, and it showed because they benched most of their players. So yeah, that's how they ended up in the 4th seed. Excuse me. Patriots hold on to that number 5 spot with the wild card. Like I said, the loss to the Dolphins means that New England will enter the playoffs as a wild card team for the first time ever under Bill Belichick. Excuse me. Hold on. All right, my apologies, folks. Says to figure out who the Patriots are playing. If the Chargers win on Sunday, or if there's a tie, the Patriots will get the 5th seed and play the Bengals. If the Raiders win, the Patriots will get the 6th seed and play the Bills. So it's still undetermined as of this recording or this live stream. That it's all pretty much all dependent on who wins tonight. 6th slot is as it looks right now is the Chargers. Things are pretty simple for the Chargers. They'll make the playoffs with a win over the Raiders on Sunday night. They could also get in with a tie, but if they lose, their season is over. If the Chargers win, they'll get the 6th seed and play the Bills. And the Raiders are the number 7 slot here. Excuse me. It says things are pretty simple for the Raiders as well. They make the playoffs with a win over the Chargers. They could also get in with a tie, but if they lose, their season is over. If the Raiders win, they get the 5th seed and play. If the Raiders win, they'll get the 5th seed and play the Bengals. And like we talked about going over the scores today, the Steelers are still alive and likely in. Not only are the Steelers still alive, but they're almost certainly going to make the playoffs. As long as the Chargers-Raiders game doesn't end in a tie, the Chargers will clinch the 7th seed in the AFC, which means they would be traveling to Kansas City in the wild card round. So still a lot on the line, with the game tonight. Now let's switch over to the NFC. The Packers, obviously, they were the first to clinch the number 1 seed. The Bucs slide up to number 2. It says the Buccaneers decided to play their starters on Sunday, and the gamble paid off. By beating the Panthers, Tampa Bay was able to move up to the 2nd spot in the NFC, which ensures they'll get to host at least 2 home games as long as they win in the wild card round. Cowboys are the 3 seed. It says, like the Buccaneers, the Cowboys decided to play their starters in Week 18, and like Tampa, the decision ended up working. Thanks to the Rams' loss, the Cowboys clinched the 3rd overall seed and will play the 49ers. The Rams get in with the number 4. It says, despite losing on Sunday, the Rams still took home the division title thanks to the fact that Arizona also lost. In a twist of irony, the Rams will now face that same Cardinals team in a wild card round. The 2 teams split their season series this year. And the aforementioned Cardinals had a chance to win the NFC West, but they blew it in a 38-30 loss to the Seahawks. The loss means the Cards will now have to hit the road for the wild card round, which might not be the worst thing considering Arizona went 8-1 on the road this year. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. The number 6 slot is the 49ers. In one of the wildest games of Week 18, it took until overtime for the 49ers to clinch the playoff berth. Their win over the Rams mean they've won an all-expense-paid trip to Dallas to face the Cowboys in the wild card round. And coming in at the number 7 slot is the Eagles. Eagles clinched playoff spot in Week 17, so the only thing they had to sweat out on Sunday was their final seeding. Due to the 49ers win over the Rams, the Eagles are the 7th seed and will travel to Tampa Bay for Super Wildcard Weekend. And we kind of teased the who's playing who, and we've already touched on the Titans and the Packers do have the byes, but we would see the Raiders at the Chiefs, Chargers at the Bills, Patriots at the Bengals, and on the NFC side, the Eagles at the Bucks, 49ers at the Cowboys, Cardinals at the Rams. Now let's kind of unpack this a little bit. Let's kind of unpack this. I know that was a lot of information in a very short amount of time. But if we look at the AFC and the NFC, obviously you really don't want to face either one of the number 1 seeds. I mean, they are playing. The reason they're the 2 number 1 seeds is they're playing the best football out of anybody left. So it's kind of a no-brainer. You really don't want to play those guys. You really don't. And I know both 2Ks and I were very high on the Indianapolis. And like we already talked about, if they win, they're in. And their loss kind of threw everything into a tailspin because most folks thought this was just going to be a walk-away win. It was a very easy, winnable game. But they lost. So that opened the floodgates to a whole lot of other scenarios that folks were aware of. But it's when we were talking about them, it's like, all right, well, this definitely is not going to happen. Indianapolis is going to go down to Jacksonville and just dog walk this team. So why would this even be a thing? Well, obviously they knew something that we didn't, because it ended up being a huge thing. So that would have been a team that I wouldn't want to play in the playoffs. And same thing with the 49ers right now. Even though 2Ks and I have talked at end about how much Jimmy G is just an average quarterback, how much 2Ks hates him. But the fact of the matter is, I think when it comes to playoff football, and some of the teams that I really don't want to face have a running game, have a very good running game. And the 49ers, it seems like they just find dudes off the street and they're rushing for 100 yards. So it's going to be interesting to see that, and especially going up against the Cowboys, who also love to run the ball. It's going to be interesting. That's going to be a very interesting game. Does have the potential to be high scoring, but you would think 2 teams that love to run the ball, you hammer the under and kind of see where it goes from there. But yeah, that's going to be and 2 more teams that love to run the ball. Eagles at the Bucks. And let's see if some more of Tom Brady's weapons come back, kind of see where that goes. That Eagles team is even though they got destroyed by the Cowboys, they really didn't have a whole lot to play for anyway. They were in. They just needed to see where they were going to land. So now they get to go down to Tampa, play TB12, and we're going to see 2 very good running games kind of face off here. And the teams like the Raiders, it seems like they forget that Josh Jacobs is on the team a lot of the times. The Chiefs have a running game sporadically. Like we talked about in Saturday's game, Mahomes was the leading rusher. The Chargers, they have a very good core running backs. And it seems like Eckler and all the other dudes hardly ever go over 100 yards. The Bills are another team. It was a big deal for the Bills to get to get a dude to 80, to get Singletary to 88 yards. And how are these teams going to run the ball? How are they going to run the ball? Patriots at the Bengals, 2 teams that can and do run the ball extremely well. Patriots have a couple dudes that get the job done. The Bengals obviously have Joe Mixon, who just, since they've made him the feature back, has just blown up in Cincy. So let's run the ball, boys. Let's run the fucking ball. And the 2 number 1 seeds, I mean, it kind of goes without saying that if Derrick Henry's back, that's the best running game in all of football. The Packers have a different style of running game with Jones and Dillon. So it's kind of a reoccurring theme here, and a theme that I wanted to drive home here a little bit is it seems as if the teams that are prone or are likely to make a run in these playoffs are teams that can run the ball. And we all know that if you can run the ball, 90% of the time you own the possession, the time of possession. That keeps the other team off the field. And the longer the offense for the other team is off the field, the more apt you are to win. It's just that easy. Just that easy. But the one thing that separates the Packers from the Titans is that bad man, Aaron Rodgers. Not only can they run the ball, but Aaron Rodgers can make all the plays, all the throws to every one of his receivers. Yes, Devontae Adams does probably make his job a tad easier. However, now with Valdez-Scantling, that injury, how serious was it? What's his how is he going to feel going forward? But getting back to the running game of the Packers, they not only got David Bakhtiari back today, who's been out for over a year because he tore his ACL last year at the end of the season. So they get him back, and then they got their center back. So not only do they have these guys that they had already were expecting back, so those are like two free agents that you were able to sign. And not only that, those two dudes that I just talked about haven't played almost the whole year. So not only are they ready to go and they're your studs, you got backups that have filled in quite nicely throughout the rest of the year. So things are, I mean, it's one of those things like in baseball when you have too many outfielders, everyone's like, well, there's only three outfield spots, but things like this happen. Things like that happen. So you can never have too many quality backups. Man, it's just the way it goes. Just the way it goes. Well, since we got a little bit of time left here, let's go down and I'll give you my picks here for Super Wildcard Weekend. Raiders at the Chiefs. Give me the Chiefs. Chargers at the Bills. Give me the Bills. Pats at the Bengals. Give me Joey Burrow all day. Eagles at the Bucks. Give me the Bucks. Niners at the Cowboys. Going rogue on this one. Give me the Niners. And Cardinals at the Rams. Give me the Cards. Give me the Cards. And I'm sure once we get back to normal and 2Ks is in here, and we're obviously going to get a full report on his investigative reporting today, what he saw, who he talked to, see if he got any insight on Green Bay, maybe, who knows, excuse me, but see how his boots on the ground experience did go over there. But yeah, I'm sure we'll be talking about picks and we might give an early Super Bowl prediction. Well, I'll go on the record right now. I'll give you mine. I think it's Packers Chiefs. Give me Packers Chiefs. Give me Pat Mahomes against Aaron Rodgers. Yes. Just think of how awesome that Super Bowl would be. How awesome that would be. And that's gonna, especially as doing this every week, talking to you guys. What better content to make? Aaron Rodgers against Patrick Mahomes. And if Aaron Rodgers wins, does he sail off into the sunset? Does he hang him up? Does he come back? Does he try to do it like TB12 and go to another team and try to win one? There's a lot of questions there. So that would be super cool to see, but we shall see. But yeah, I'm very confident in those picks, so I'll give it to you right now. I don't think two teams are playing better than them. You could say, well, Turbo, the Chiefs are a 2 seed. They're not the 1 seed. Yeah, I understand that. But the Chiefs at the beginning of the year sucked. They're hot right now. They are hot. Titans are also hot, and they're going to get Derrick Henry back. The main question is, which Derrick Henry are you going to get? Now, you could also say that the Titans have done this and secured the number 1 seed where no one thought they would because of the loss of Derrick Henry. To me, that team goes as King Henry goes, even though they've been winning right now. But I just can't. I can't trust Ryan Tannehill to do it by himself. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. Packers Chiefs Super Bowl. Let's go. Let's go. Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. That's all I've got for you. So it's going to be an exciting Wildcard Weekend. Saturday, Sunday, and a game on Monday. First time ever we've had a playoff game on Monday. So we get 3 days of football instead of 2 next week. And I'm stoked. I am stoked. Stoked and sad. It's always awesome to get into playoffs of any sport, but that means that the sport's kind of wrapping up. We're getting towards the end of the show, if you want to think about it that way, unless it's basketball, and it seems like the playoffs go for 3 months. So football season is coming to an end, which is always sad. And one thing that I didn't do, I didn't give you an update on the national championship game, which is tomorrow. So if you're watching this on YouTube live right now, tomorrow, Alabama, Georgia. Now, when we talked last week, we talked about Georgia being a 3-point favorite. Well, let's take a look and see if that line has moved. I want to say when 2Ks and I were hanging out the other day, it was 2.5. 2.5. Where is it? You would think they'd put there it is. It is indeed Georgia. The spread's down to 2.5. 2.5. But you know what? Give me Georgia. As I throw my phone. Give me Georgia. You can have the 2.5 points, Saban. You can have them. Give me Georgia. Give me Georgia. Let's just hope we get the same Georgia team that played Michigan and not the same Georgia team that played Bama the first time. Because if that happens, Nick Saban isn't going to need any points. But yeah, give me Georgia. Give me Georgia. Well, 2K crew, I'll get you out of here on that. Like I said, hopefully next week we'll have 2Ks back in the saddle again. And we'll get to... We're obviously going to do some reactions to the national title game. We're going to give you our reactions from Super Wildcard Weekend. And it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Well, thanks, everybody. I will see you next week. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.